This isn't just a game. It's a statement to the entire world. A rivalry taken nearly 8,000 miles away, and tensions are already boiling over. And somehow, the 49ers might walk into this away game with a home field advantage. Before we dive in, if you live and breathe Niners football, hit like, share this with the faithful, and subscribe for daily coverage. Let's get into this, because there's a lot to unpack, and honestly, some of this might surprise you. The San Francisco 49ers are officially heading to Australia to open the season against the Los Angeles Rams. Not London. Not Mexico. Not even Germany. We are talking about Melbourne, on the other side of the planet. And here's the thing. On the surface, it sounds exciting. Historic, even. The NFL planting its flag in a brand new market, expanding the global footprint, chasing that international dominance that Commissioner Roger Goodell has been aggressively pushing for years. But once you peel back the layers, you start to see why this isn't sitting right with everyone, especially Kyle Shanahan. Let me ask you something right off the bat. Is this really about growing the game, or are teams being forced to sacrifice competitive balance for business? Because think about what the 49ers are dealing with here. This isn't a quick road trip. This isn't even a cross-country flight. This is nearly 8,000 miles one way. Roughly 16,000 miles round trip. Multiple time zones, severe jet lag, disrupted preparation, and no bye week to recover afterward. This is a brutal logistical challenge, especially in a league where physical recovery and timing are everything. To put it into perspective, a trip from San Francisco to Philadelphia is just over 2,500 miles. San Francisco to Miami, a little over 3,000. Now compare that to what the Niners are about to do. They're traveling distances that completely redefine what a road game even means. And Shanahan, he's not hiding his frustration. He basically came out and said what a lot of coaches are probably thinking, but won't say publicly. He doesn't see much of a point. Yes, he understands the business side. Yes, he gets the global expansion. But from a football standpoint, from a competitive standpoint, it doesn't make sense. And honestly, he's not wrong. But here's where things take a turn, and where it starts to feel a little personal. Because behind the scenes, there's this growing belief that the Rams may have actually pushed for this matchup. That's right. There's chatter that Sean McVay and the Rams wanted the 49ers in this game. Why? Because they know exactly what happens every time these two teams meet in Los Angeles. Niners fans take over. Every single time. SoFi Stadium turns into a sea of red and gold. It stops feeling like a Rams home game and starts feeling like Levi South. So now, instead of dealing with that in California, you ship the game across the world. And when Shanahan heard that, you could tell it didn't sit well. In fact, he fired back in a way that was equal parts hilarious and telling. He basically said, "All right, if we are going international, then send them to Mexico too." Not out of spite, at least not officially, but out of fairness. If one team is forced to deal with multiple international trips, the other should too. And here's the bigger picture that fans need to understand. The 49ers are projected to travel more miles than any team in NFL history this season. That's not just an inconvenience. That's a potential competitive disadvantage over the course of a long, grueling year. Now here's where things get really interesting. Because despite all of that, the travel, the fatigue, the frustration, there's one factor that could completely flip this situation on its head. The fans. And I'm telling you right now, this is not being talked about enough. The 49ers might walk into Melbourne and feel like they never left home. Why? Because the global reach of this franchise is massive. We are talking decades of legacy, dynasties, iconic players, a brand that exploded internationally during the 80s with legends like Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. That era didn't just build a fan base in America, it created a worldwide following, especially in places like Australia. So when this game kicks off inside the Melbourne Cricket Ground, a stadium that can hold close to 100,000 people, don't be shocked if 80 to 90% of that crowd is rocking red and gold. Think about that for a second. An away game, that feels like a home playoff atmosphere. That changes things. That matters. That energy. That noise. That momentum. It could completely neutralize the disadvantage of travel. So now the question becomes, could this actually backfire on the Rams? Could they have tried to escape the Niners' takeover in Los Angeles, only to create an even bigger one overseas? Because if that stadium turns into a Niners stronghold, this stops being a disadvantage and starts becoming a statement. Now shifting gears, because there's another storyline coming out of these meetings that deserves serious attention, and it revolves around one player who has been the engine of this offense, Christian McCaffrey. Once again, Shanahan is saying all the right things, talking about managing workload, keeping him fresh, reducing touches, preserving him for the long haul. Sound familiar? It should, because we've heard this every single off-season. And yet, the usage tells a completely different story. Since arriving in San Francisco, McCaffrey has been used like a workhorse on overdrive. Heavy touches after the trade. Led the league in usage the following season. Then bounced back with another 400-touch campaign at nearly 30 years old. That's not sustainable. That's not how you maximize longevity, especially for a player who does everything. Run between the tackles. Catch out of the backfield. Line up in the slot. Pass protect. He's not just a running back, he's the entire offensive ecosystem. And that's exactly why this is a problem. Because if you burn him out, the entire offense feels it. So here's the real issue. Shanahan acknowledges it, but he doesn't change it. And at some point, that responsibility falls squarely on him. Let me ask you this. How many times can you say we need to reduce his workload before actually doing it? Because the solution isn't complicated. You have other backs. Players who have shown they can produce in this system. Players who just need consistent opportunities to get into rhythm. Yet time and time again, the offense leans back on McCaffrey, over and over again. And while it works in the short term, it creates long-term risk, especially heading into a season where travel, fatigue, and physical wear are already going to be amplified. So here's your question of the day. Should the 49ers seriously limit Christian McCaffrey's touches this season, even if it means sacrificing short-term production? Be honest. Drop your answer in the comments. Because this decision could define how far this team actually goes. If Shanahan finally commits to a true rotation, if he gets creative, splitting McCaffrey out wide, mixing personnel, keeping defenses guessing, this offense could become even more dangerous. Not less. More unpredictable. More balanced. Harder to defend. And most importantly, more sustainable deep into the season, when it actually matters. Because we've seen what this team can do when everything clicks. The question now is, can they manage the details well enough to get back there? Between the international spotlight, the underlying tension with a division rival, and the ongoing challenge of protecting their most valuable weapon. This season isn't just about talent. It's about decisions. And the margin for error. It's razor thin. One thing is certain though. When the 49ers step onto that field in Australia, it won't just be another game. It'll be a moment, a test, and possibly the start of something much bigger than anyone expected. Because if that crowd turns red and gold, if the energy swings their way, if they walk out of Melbourne with a statement win, the entire narrative changes. And suddenly, what looked like a disadvantage becomes the spark that ignites the season.